have an empty
I'm just answering a question like, yeah, that's a really good.
Is that a fly? Yeah.
You want me to move that up a little bit? It's kind of annoying here. Anytime we do one of these round tables and it's like something on this scale, it's always mayhem with the audio.
Yeah, it's better to keep it super close.
How's Comic Con?
Good. Good, man. Nice to see you again.
Took me a second.
Yeah, it's been good.
How, like, each year it seems like Walking Dead is a bigger and bigger thing here at Comic-Con. What's it like to kind of just see the creative enthusiasm that all these people have for this show and what you guys are doing?
It completes the circle, I think. Definitely. I mean, it makes you want to work that much harder when you go back out there and to feel the love. I mean, it's funny because it inspires you. We've said before that we're in somewhat of a vacuum when we're out there in Georgia, but you really are, and we know what a success the show has become, but it's become a conversation now, you know what I mean? Like, we're seeing all of you again. I don't know, it inspires us to drive the characters to new places.
I would love for everyone to get a glimpse of like how hard everybody works.
Yeah.
I know people say that, and like people don't really, I guess, know. Like people just say that in like generics, but like Scott, everybody goes so hard on the show. Like you stay, you know, I don't know. We're watching other people's takes. We're asking for one more to make it even better. Nobody's like, let me just say the lines and get out. It's just everyone's going so full throttle because they want to push themselves, and I think it is, like you said, like complete the circle of we're doing something not for an audience immediately, and then when we get here, we see that like awesome feedback. So we're like, oh, great! We're not putting it to waste. It's great. Yeah, absolutely.
I think to add to that, the crews are involved in it too. Big time. It's amazing how much work gets put out in 8 days. And this is an 8-day shoot. It's phenomenal. I mean, if they weren't for what we were doing and trying to make us better, it wouldn't be what the show wouldn't be what it is. The artists, the big they're huge contributors.
It's hard to encapsulate that synchronicity because when people ask why the show is a success or why it works, it really is the kind of harmony of all these little pieces, and so there's no one.
And I think everyone knows they have caught a lion by the tail. Do you let go? I don't know. I mean, do you just ride as long as you can?
During season 2, I found season 2 so intense. I watched the marathon that was on last week, and I was just like sweating. And do you guys get a chance to relax at all during like a nice farmland? You can have a picnic or something, or do you just catch right up and keep going?
Yeah, the set
Oh, you
this
mean
year.
for next season?
For
Oh,
the
okay.
next season, yeah.
Oh, in between times?
Oh, I just mean like for
Yeah.
season 4. Like, does it have that same intensity of season 3, or like do you get a,
Yeah.
your characters get a break where you have a little? I mean, sorry, that's a spoiler, but.
No, it's okay. When you said picnic, it made me think that when we first went back for this season, if any of you saw that clip, there are some changes to the prison, and it's a bit more civilized. And I tried to sneak out there and get some quiet time because you literally have this beautiful farm built inside a prison, and it's gorgeous. Like, it's actually a very idyllic setting. So it's, I think, an effort of taking little moments whenever you can, because we shoot in the most idyllic, beautiful place, and we tell the darkest, most horrific stories. So it's, yeah, but it is a case of having fun on the weekends. I think we've all been able to find a bit more balance this year. We have a rhythm with the show. So maybe we have more social life?
Yeah.
Slightly.
But as for the show, I mean, like we push, and it's great storytelling as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see what you guys all think.
Steven's thinking of becoming a professional golfer.
No.
He missed a hole in one by about that far.
We golf a lot. We do golf a lot. Which is thanks to him, thank God.
As we know, it's of course based on the popular comic book series of the same name. I think, Steven, you read it. I'm not sure if the others keep up with it. And there's, the show's become its own. It definitely has elements of the comic. I'm sure you don't want to see it go to where your character's gone in the comic, but are there other story elements from the comic you'd like to see brought into the show?
Not issue 100.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think with we say this all the time, but like it's so true with Robert in the room. It is going to pay such huge respect to the source material, but yet kind of be its own beast. And I think being a fanboy of things in general, I at first was like, well, no, hey, we're not telling the story that was on the pages. What's going on? Remember the first season? I was like, that's not what happened. But then I realized, like, if you do the other one well, then it doesn't matter. Like, it's its own beast, and people can get on that. It's when you take the original material and make it worse somehow, and you're like, what did you do to that? It doesn't make sense. But I think, what's great about the show is that you can see a mirror into maybe who you would be in the apocalypse. Like, people might attach themselves to Maggie or Hershel or Glenn or Daryl if you are super badass in real life, and then just follow that character all the way through until maybe their demise, who knows, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I would do, or that's not what I would do. I think that's what keeps people coming in. If you can read it, then that's not that fun.
Did you read forward, or do you have to resist that urge because you just need to know what's going to happen to your character on the page in the script, or do you want to do that just almost for entertainment value and see where Robert's kind of mapped the road previously and see what he's going to do?
You mean
It's a fight to not read it, actually. It's definitely a fight to not read it. I've read the first compendium and not be on there, even though Charlie's gonna David's gonna send me the second one now. So but it was definitely like in a flash that I finished it, definitely. But you have to remind yourself that you're making this TV show, so it isn't just a case of you want to enjoy this thing, but you have to stay focused. I think that's what it is.
Now, I was wondering, last year I spoke with Robert. He told me that he is intentionally keeping his ideas for the ending from the TV show, so that assuming the TV show ends before the book does, it will not be the same. I was wondering, is this something that ever occurs to you guys? Is what exactly, where are we headed with this? Because obviously all TV shows end even if you get a 12-year run.
I'm curious because that's why I haven't seen World War Z yet, but I'd like to see how the global scope is handled with the zombie apocalypse, and I don't know what Robert does with that. Do you? Is it? Yeah.
For myself, I am too interested in what's happening now to be paying too much attention to what may happen down the road, or may not happen down the road. So the moment is what you're trying to capture for me. And I think most everyone is playing for the moment.
So are you guys able to have any sort of like, say, hopes or dreams for your characters, especially you two getting engaged? You say like, God, like I hope we can at least like enjoy being together as a couple for a little while. Or on a show like this, does that not even really enter your head? And for Hershel, to say, I hope that Glenn and Maggie actually have a chance.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think the family dynamic here is very important, we're aware that we are family within a family, because the entire group is family. This is the family within the family.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It's, and they've written scenes, in the past to magnify the show, so it's fun.
And now Glenn is so much more a part of that family. It's a pretty solidified thing. We're a couple that's official, and yeah, we do try to live the season, not just survive. Yeah.
Well, following up on that, it's a bleak world, and then Rick just brought a baby into the world. See where I'm going with this? It's like, do they want? Would Maggie and Glenn consider? You think? Would you want their characters to consider bringing in because to survive, you want the human race to survive. Do you think that they should have a baby or bring it into the mix?
I think maybe without spoiling anything, it's more of being at the precipice of like deciding what survival and what society is at this point. You know, I think that's
If it's ready.
yeah. I think that's like kind of the mantra for everyone, right? Which is like, what is the point of life at this point?
You could be a couple in Manhattan and think you don't have enough financial security to have a baby, and you have it anyway. And you could be a couple in the apocalypse that doesn't have enough physical security to have a baby. And it's not. I'm not saying which way it's going to go, but it's just. It's kind of. It does mirror life in that respect. It's like, when is it safe enough to go on to the next step?
Perhaps it's a light.
When do
in the
we know? We don't know. Perhaps
It's a light in the darkness.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it concerning? I mean, and again, this is speculative, but is it concerning at all that if you go that route, that it's the light and the darkness, that's exactly what we've just done in season 3, and so you'd kind of almost have to find a different way to spin it, I would think, for your family.
You're not going to see anything the same. I'm just going to tell you that. Anything the same.
You know, the writers are all so amazing. But at the same time, like, you can break down any story. It's going to have kind of the same, maybe the same core of it all. And I think the core of this show in particular is like moving on and like continuing to strive. And then there's those that don't want to, and then they end their lives, or those that fear it, or there's just so many different questions that everybody has. That I think there will always be an interesting spin on a new situation every single time.
What was, I don't want you to get too spoilery, where you're comfortable, what was the great excitement for you with this upcoming season, everything that got revealed to you? How can you, I don't know, it's hard to say, but can you talk overarching what got you?
I know for Maggie it was that everything that shook her confidence last season is what has completely changed her and shifted her viewpoint this season. So she's very strong and kind of unshakable, and so it became a slippery slope, I think, for her in season 3, and that's propelled a lot of strength.
Sorry, having lived in this sort of world with The Walking Dead where people you thought were good sort of had to do things that maybe you consider bad just to survive, has that caused you to think in your own personal lives about what is sort of right and wrong or what you might do in that situation? If something like that were to happen to you?
It actually makes me think that you never really know people. It makes me think that it's very difficult to sum someone up or compartmentalize them. You know, like everybody will do something suspicious or something skeptical sometimes. Yeah.
If you want to get like crazy about it, I guess it's like game theory. You know what I mean? That's always prisoner's dilemma situation when you get to
Stanford
something.
experiment.
Yeah, when you both want something, you know, then you're like, what does that guy want? Does he want the same thing I want, or do I? You know, and then you just reveal true natures. I mean, that's what is cool about the show is like I don't think it's revealed anything particularly new, but it's definitely solidified, you know, kind of the social ideals, and that's what kind of we hit on, and I think that's what makes the show interesting. Because who's right? Is the governor right? Is Rick right? Like, especially looking in the past, like the governor did what he needed to do for his people, the ones that he cared about. Is that unreasonable, especially given the circumstances? Do you have to extend an arm to every single person? Shane, Rick, like that. Those are great dichotomies.
Complex role. So I mean, the whole thing. It's like just made me think of something really cool, and I forgot what it was. So it's also not really cool.
Well, it's interesting to me to see how the group dynamic has evolved into a working unit. Where, like in the first episode last season, there was a machine that went into that prison and cleaned it out. You know, going after the walkers and just taking care of business. It was very, it was fun to watch. And by the way, Grace Walker, who did the art direction in that building, that's kind of phenomenal. What he did. If you had seen it beforehand, you would really appreciate what he did. He's the art director.
Yeah, there's a video of Robert walking through it just before they dressed it, so you can actually find it.
You mentioned how the prison is going to be a little more homey, a little more civilized. I guess you've got new members now, and it's a big home. But that gives you this, will it give you a false sense of security? Will we see them eventually leave the prison at some point this season? Or, you probably can't say that. But would you like to see them, see the prison and be back on the run?
Ooh, see how he did that?
Yeah.
It's the same question.
Would you like to because you're going to? Or because you're not?
Same question.
That's what I do.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, like, we can't talk about anything, which really sucks.
Yeah. But we would like to see stuff happen and things change and people move around and
That's great.
stuff. I'm doing that was intentionally.
How much
Yeah.
of the family dynamic carries over?
know what it's
Because when you speak, sir, it's impossible not to look you in the eye. And so I would feel like working with him all the time that you would really come to have a relationship that's like you would have with a
These
screen.
guys are so.
He says that. He says that. Oh no, not that he doesn't think that, but working with Scott is cake. Like just being in the scene opposite him, you know, if you fall, he's gonna literally carry the load for you. He'll make that scene beautiful.
You just have to be with him.
Yeah.
You be with him. Scott just has this radiance of honesty.
Just give me a quick